Hello, everyone. Drop a Line Podcast. This is episode 2, part 2. Talking politics, so strap in and enjoy the ride. Yeah, I'll let Casey hit this off with some inflation talk.
Oh boy, do we want to talk inflation here. FJB, am I right? So we start off here.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon. Yeah, that Kid Rock song's pretty solid. I think I sent that to you that one day. We the People, I think is what it's called. So yeah, dealing with some crazy inflation. I know they say it's the most complained about problem is the gas prices. When people start feeling inflation, they feel it immediately in the gas prices. Part of that, though, has to deal with the Ukraine and Russia dilemma, but that's just the forefront of inflation in general that deals with pretty much all goods. It kind of starts out with just the quote unquote pandemic, as they call it. I just call it every other day. But yeah, I mean, you start out with the pandemic. People start staying home. People get sent home. People work from home. People don't ever leave their goddamn homes because they don't want to get a cold. And so, yeah.
Because they're pussies.
Yeah.
And they watch CNN, they watch MSNBC, and
any news source. I mean, it doesn't even matter which side of the spectrum. Any news source will just blow anything out of proportion. So if you want the key to happiness, here it is. Don't watch the news. The news just, all it does is taint your life. You know what? Most people watch the news for the goddamn weather. We all have apps on our phones now that has the weather. Go look at the damn weather. That's right, Mom, I'm talking to you. I've told you this 1,000 times. Just go look at the weather app. It'll tell you exactly what you're going to sit there for an hour watching on the news just to see. So just, everybody turn on your weather apps if you're curious about what the news is. The rest of it doesn't matter.
Listen, I don't have a lot to say about inflation, but I do have something to say about the news. Little news flash, actually.
Newsflash, huh?
Yeah, newsflash talking about news. Quite the comedian over here. They make money because you watch.
Not me, but yeah.
Correct. You, hypothetical, honestly, we said in part 1 of episode 2 that part 2 is about politics. Guessing people on this episode are here for, they're about on the same values as us if they watched episode 1. But they make money off of people that watch. So it doesn't matter what spectrum you're on. I think we've made our points, our opinions pretty clear. We're both Republicans. But even to go on Fox News first, just to show that it's both sides, Fox News tells you that Biden's going to crash the economy, Biden's going to end this country, Biden's going to do blah, 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 which...
It's all propaganda BS.
Right.
Yeah.
And the reason, so you watch that, and then you're like, oh my God, what is Biden going to do next? You watch the next week. CNN, especially when Trump was in office, but not even then, COVID cases are rising. COVID hospitalizations are rising. Hospitals are overrun. You watch the next cycle. It's all about getting you back. News is not about informing you. News is about making
viewership.
money. Correct.
Yeah.
Right. And it's because it's a business. And in a sense, that's okay because it's a private business making money, and that's how this stuff works. But you can't take it as gospel. You can't listen to the news and think that that's exactly right. It doesn't matter what spectrum you're on. Listen, like I said, I'm Republican. I like listening to Tucker Carlson every once in a while, but I know that he has a slant. I know that there's things that he says that may be not objectively true because he wants to prove his point. The thing about Republicans is it's a pretty small number of news sources that you're going to find that's on the side of conflating your ideals. The majority of people are on the Democrat side, but that's not necessarily the problem because you're going to find your source and you're going to continue to be in that echo chamber. So go research stuff. Figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, everybody likes like-minded individuals who think exactly like them. It makes them feel good about themselves.
What? That's exactly
Hence
why
why
we
we're
hang out.
here.
Yeah. Drop a
line.
line. Drop
Yeah.
a line.
Yeah, so, let's cover this inflation dilemma we've got going on here. Prices, or just overall prices, I mean, this covers pretty well everything. Up 7.5% compared to last year in January. All prices just averaged out, essentially. And that's the largest jump since 1982. A lot of that stems from, honestly, the coronavirus pandemic and how it was handled. Yeah, I mean, we had to do some things to kind of, we had to tread lightly to figure out what was going on with this, so we didn't get too risky with it. Didn't show our hand early and figure out what the heck was going on
And
when it was too late.
I don't want to butt in real quick, but
Yeah, go ahead.
gas prices in 1982 for premium was $1.31.
And that was definitely inflated. I mean,
Correct.
what it
That
should
was
have been.
high.
Yeah, that should have been probably.
1980 was 85 cents.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
exactly. I was gonna say 90, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that makes sense. But yeah, I mean, a lot of this comes back to the pandemic. Jobs shut down. You guys saw, everybody got laid off. Everybody got sent home, was working from home if they still had a job. Everything was shut down. Everything took a big hit. So people are at home. They're not going out. They're not doing crazy things.
And if people weren't working, they were getting stimulus checks and unemployment checks that were inflated to basically stay home. That's why places aren't getting workers.
Yeah, the initial stimulus checks, I see why they did them, because they had those, if you made over this dollar amount, you wouldn't get these checks. And that's because they knew these people were well enough off. And if they weren't, it's because they had enough assets under their names that they could sell a couple leisure things and they could be well off for a while. But for the most part, they kept it to people who they thought would need them. But this $1,400 stimulus check it was in the Biden administration $1.9 trillion relief package that they sent out. That was a crock. I mean, I sat there in small town Podunk, Iowa. Nothing had changed. People were kind of done wearing masks unless you wanted to wear a mask, and nobody really cared anymore. And they sent me $1,400, and all I could think was, I don't really need this. Like, can I send this back? Like, I don't want to screw up the economy anymore. Like, 1.9 trillion, we could do without. Like, come on, guys.
And guess what? Back to the masks thing. Guess what I'm guessing happened, because that's what happened in my town too. When people didn't want to wear a mask, they weren't told anything. When people wanted to wear a mask, they also weren't told anything. People just did whatever the hell they wanted.
Yeah,
Lived their lives, continued to run their businesses, and we're doing all right here.
Yep.
I mean, that's so. It's like, do your little things where shutting down, people can't go outside. This is all a little bit past that, because I don't think there's too many super strict restrictions still in America. I mean, we're still wearing masks.
Everything's loosening up.
Yeah, I mean, we're still wearing masks at school, which is absolutely...
Kinda.
I mean, we aren't. We're wearing masks, but they're more covering...
Not the right way.
They're just covering up my double chin more. But
more chins than a Chinese phone book.
But it's like... And even at our school, I don't want to make this COVID, because Casey knows a lot about inflation. So I'm going to let him go back to inflation. And then after this, I'll chime in a little bit about the mask at our school.
Yeah, so inflation. It goes back to a lot of simple economics here. I mean, you've got the supply and demand dilemma. And from what we had here, we had, after people staying home, they're not out spending money and going places, all these luxury leisure things that people do. You don't have that. People are staying home. They're scared. They're scared out of their minds. They just want to stay home. And things start to ease up a little bit, and people just want to spend. And spending is great for our economy. I mean, you should want to spend. You should want to buy things. You should want to boost the economy and live the life that you want to live. Except the problem is we have a lot of businesses who had been shut down or short-staffed during this time. They had to stay afloat too, so they had to short-staff. They had to make cuts. And now you have a huge influx of buyers. It's a buyer's market. Everybody wants their stuff. Everybody wants to chime in and get a piece of what they've been missing out on for, I don't know, months, a year or two.
2
I don't
years
know.
for some people.
For some people, yeah. And so everybody starts buying, and that's when you have all those backups in the ports. I mean, you've got ships held back because you can only unload so much in a day because these companies are still, the unloading docks are still a little short-staffed, and people don't want to go back to work because they're scared and all that stuff. So you've got a problem here. Supply is a little bit low. Demand is going insane. So what do? Jack up prices. They try to slow down the demand a little bit. And so everything starts going insane. Prices go up. I saw bacon was up 19%. That's insane. I love bacon. You know what? Jump up tofu. Jump up some soy.
Yeah, Riley.
Jump up the stuff nobody cares about, or the people that suck. Don't throw their stuff up. And
Riley, if you're watching,
Riley's a cool kid.
Riley's cool. May have him on the podcast, but
Ritz crackers, they need to drop.
If you're gonna eat Ritz, take them out of the goddamn wrapper at least. God,
I love it. But yeah, inflation's nuts, and there's not really an end to this tunnel. It's going to be like this for a while. We're kind of stuck with it for the foreseeable future. Everybody wants to talk about gas. Who knows what gas is going to do, and that partially refers back to the Russia-Ukraine situation. So, who knows about that, but people got to get back to work. That's kind of the first thing. Everybody's got to get back to doing things normal. You don't need to work at home all the time. Believe me, it's not all the hype. I get it. Some jobs can be done at home, and that's fine. But for the most part, people need to get back. It boosts the economy by getting back. Companies have to lease out or have property that they work in. That boosts the economy. Companies, they have to pay employees to come in, and people are going to want raises because now they're driving. And overall, it just boosts the economy that much more. And that'll kind of slow down. People won't have as much time sitting at home shopping, and they won't have time to hurry up and get their work done because they're going to be stuck at work because some jobs aren't as demanding. They've got more time at work to just kind of get their stuff done. And then what do? Plus, it helps people's mental state. People conversing with other people at their jobs, that helps. We were living so well prior to pandemic. People were interacting more. Everything was a little more chilled out. And I know a lot of people like working at home, and it's a good thing for the most part. But there is a sense that you gotta have human interaction, and you've got to keep boosting the economy and keep doing what's best for the country. And you just can't let this inflation get out of hand, which
it's out of hand.
It's gonna keep getting out of hand
it's out of pocket. Under
Democratic control, it will continue to keep rising as well. It typically does with them. But during the pandemic, we were technically beginning a pretty nasty recession. But that's kind of a wash. I mean, it's a situational recession, so you can't really put too much weight on it. And we will come out of it, but we are due for a full-blown recession in the next 5 to 10 years, roughly. That's just the business cycle. I mean, we're due for one. We had one in '08. We came out of it hard. I mean, we were hitting highs in like 2014 through 2016, absolute highs. And we were due for a recession, but not like this. It should have been a little more eased into steady. This is hitting it hard. And it doesn't have to be this way. I mean, we could solve this a lot better.
And that's another point. I know it's not easy to solve. Listen, Joe Biden does not want this inflation going on. He or whoever succeeds him wants to win re-election. Let's just be real. I got a better chance of winning re-election than Joe Biden because that guy is not. I don't think he's running for office again.
Depends who you ask, but his approval rates were some of the lowest they've ever seen after a year.
Dude, even if you ask liberals are us, they're still low.
Yeah, and some of that
he's not supposed to be a liberal. That's the thing. And
some of that's situational too. It's just the hand you're dealt.
Yeah.
But at the same point, it's like he isn't helping himself any. It's tough, but I mean, we're gonna have to stick out this little recession and then inflation problem we're gonna have here for the next year, maybe 2 years. I hope it doesn't get there, but we're gonna have to stick this out for a while.
I mean, we both hope that it comes out the best for the country, obviously. I mean, I hope we get back on our feet. I mean, we're on our feet. That's the vast majority of people are back on their feet. Businesses are opening. But the worst part is it's happening at the worst time because even something small like gas, right? It does make it harder. For instance, my girlfriend, when she's back home, she lives 4 hours away. It does make it harder to go see her when she's 4 hours away because gas is 50 cents higher than it was not that long ago. And I do have a truck, if I must say so myself. But,
hell yeah, brother.
Yeah. But, I mean, I'm getting to the point where it's like $75 to fill up. Let me tell you, I am putting in the cheapest gas. But the other day, I put in super unleaded, and it was like $68, which is just incredible. Like, that's not... It's just, it doesn't... We just got to figure this out. But, I mean, I'm not smart enough to figure it out, but I'm sure somebody is, and we will. I'm going to move into something that's been in the news a little while ago. This is the no-knock warrant thing for Amir Locke. So just a little bit of background on this. So Amir Locke, he was at an apartment that was rented by the girlfriend of his older brother. His name was Mackay Speed. I don't know. Rented. No. Sorry. Let me rephrase. Rented by the girlfriend of the older brother of Mackay Speed. Mackay Speed was his cousin, Amir Locke's cousin. He was wanted by the Minneapolis and St. Paul police departments for homicide. He had an active warrant out, but Amir Locke had no criminal record. He theoretically did nothing wrong. On February 2nd, the SWAT officers who were serving the warrant for that did a no-knock warrant and broke into the apartment of the girlfriend of the brother of Amir Speed and saw Amir on the couch who was sleeping there. He does not live there. He stayed there for one night, and he had a legal firearm under him. When the cops broke in, his comforter pulled over and they saw a gun in his hand and they shot him 3 times. Now, this is terrifying for me because when I sleep, I have a gun that is a pistol that's no more than 3 foot away from me, 2 foot away from me on my nightstand. So this is scary to me. And now there's an argument that people have made that's like, well, why are you in the apartment of a convicted person's house? Which I don't have an answer for. And that's not necessarily the main point of my argument. For this exact case, he was a legal gun owner. He should not have been shot. I'll get to the other cases in a minute. One thing that I this is a situation where there's really no winners, and I don't know how it could have been prevented because prosecutors are weighing whether or not to charge the police officer that shot Locke. Now, Locke should not have been shot. However, if you go into a house where you have an active warrant out for somebody that's wanted for homicide, you're given orders by your boss, you break in, the first person you see pulls the covers back and has an open firearm. What are you supposed to do? So he's supposed to be charged. That doesn't make sense either.
Yeah, you got to be sympathetic towards the officer, too, in that situation. Right. I mean, put yourself in those shoes. What are you going to do? Fear for your life and run? I mean, likely not. I mean, you are still doing your duty, but it's just circumstantial, unfortunate.
Right, and I want to make my and I believe Casey holds this opinion too. I mean, Amir Locke should not have been shot.
No.
It's just an unfortunate circumstance. And like I said, this is terrifying to me because I'll get to later cases later, but I sleep with a gun right by me. I actually sleep with a gun on my nightstand and 2 shotguns under my bed in cases. And I know Casey has firearms relatively close to him as well.
Yeah.
So if somebody breaks into my house, which is exactly what a no-knock warrant would sound like, there's somebody breaking in, they're shouting, I'm grabbing that gun and I'm ready to shoot when they break into my door. Now, this is a little different situation because there's not going to be somebody, unless some very unforeseen circumstances arise, that there's somebody in my house with a homicide warrant out that I don't know about.
Highly unlikely.
So you better contain yourself, right?
Yeah, I'll take it easy here.
Yeah. It's a little different, but he still was a legal gun owner. He was 22 years old. He was a legal gun owner in the state of Minnesota, which pretty liberal.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact gun laws in Minnesota, but I'm guessing it wasn't a complete cakewalk. So he was a legal gun owner, and he got shot for having his legal gun. Now, this is where I get more to the other parts of this, is the cases that are completely objectively, there's no way that you could say there's any fault on the person that is getting intruded on. There's 2 cases. I heard both of these on Colion Noir's channel, who's a Second Amendment guns rights activist. Both of these were news articles that he posted on his YouTube channel. One couple had the SWAT team raid their home, and they were the wrong house, and the SWAT team had to step over baby toys in the front room for a warrant of a person that lived alone. And they stepped over the baby toys threw tear gas into the parents' bedrooms and children's bedrooms. And luckily, nobody was hurt in that case. Another case, the police pursued a no-knock warrant in a suspect's house. Wrong person. Suspect shot him twice. Thankfully, nobody died, and the prosecutor didn't press charges. That's how it should be, because it was the wrong house. I understand that there's definitely times where a no-knock warrant is warranted, but you better be goddamn sure that that's the right person that you're going into, and you better know exactly the situations that you're going into. For instance, if Osama bin Laden was somehow in America, I would very much hope that there would be a no-knock warrant on that house. But you better be damn sure exactly what's going on there.
It depends. I mean, I'm kind of on the fence on that one. See, I'm a pretty strict libertarian, and you got to have individual rights, and part of that is the government has to have a warrant to search and enter your inhabitants. And I mean, it doesn't matter who you are, you do have that individual right. And then you jump on a slippery slope of the no-knock warrant case. I mean, if no-knock warrants are okay, yeah, you can just have anybody just creep into your place at any time, and that's not nice. I mean, that just infringes upon rights. Insanely. It doesn't matter what you've done. You do have the right of the castle. I mean, it is your castle. You can't have people just intrude. They do have to introduce themselves and say their position on being there. If you try to sneak out the back door, that's fine. I mean, they're probably surrounding anyway. Good luck. If you've really put yourself in the situation to earn the sneaking out the back door, they're going to be there and waiting for you anyway. So, I mean, try it. Go ahead. But at the same point, you do have your rights, and I'm okay with that. I think this whole no-knock warrant thing is a crock. I don't think it's warranted. I don't think it should be a thing in general. Overall, I think it's an infringement. But I get why they do it, obviously, to enforce. But at the same point, it is an infringement in my mind.
And I hold pretty much the same views. I have a very weird, conflicting thing in my mind where, on one end, I do not trust the government.
No.
And I don't trust the federal government.
Definitely not.
Really don't trust the state government much either.
Not really.
I would rather... But I know that I can't trust a bunch of morons to run their own country.
Nope.
So it's...
Everybody has their place, and that's defined in the Constitution.
Right, so it's like, where are we at? So I don't trust the government, so I don't want no-knock warrants. But then at the same point, I'm sick and tired of police being demonized, and I understand that their job's really stressful, so you knock, and you got somebody really dangerous pointing a gun at you, and they're shooting at the second that you knock and they see that you're there. So my middle ground... In law school, there's different burdens of proof. For instance, for civil cases, it's the preponderance of the evidence. It's basically 51% chance that the plaintiff or the person that's suing is right. For criminal cases, it's beyond a reasonable doubt. Give or take 95 to 99% chance that the defendant, the person that is being charged for murder, is guilty. If you're doing a no-knock warrant, you better be on that 99.9% chance. That has to be, you have a picture of Osama entering that building and a layout of that building 25 seconds before you enter. Because if you enter into my house, I'm shooting, and I damn well do not want to have to shoot a cop. And I damn well don't want to shoot anybody that's innocent, because guess what? They don't want to shoot me either. Those people did not want to shoot Amir Locke. And God rest his soul. I mean, I feel horrible for him and his family. He was a legal gun owner. He had zero criminal record. I feel horrible for him. I mean,
the only reason they shot him was because imagine the case that he isn't a legal gun owner. He's in the same household as a guy who has likely committed homicide, innocent until proven guilty, but he's likely committed homicide.
He was arrested. His
Okay.
It was his cousin. It was his 17-year-old cousin, who was the Mackay Speed guy, and he was arrested on February 8th, which is 6 days after the killing of Amir was done.
Yeah.
Not murder, killing. Difference.
Yeah, but you're entering the household of this guy who is known for these horrific crimes. I mean, obviously you're going to be on high alert. For all you know, the guy you're going for has some friends who are not against committing the same crimes. And you see a guy with a gun, you're going to be on high alert, and it's most likely going to end up in this same situation. But, I mean, you got to think flip side of the coin. It's a person who isn't a legal gun owner. They're most likely going to start shooting at you.
Right.
So you got to be careful on that. I get both sides of it, but just this no knock thing it's a crock to me. I mean, it's not good.
And like we said, we both agree that Amir Locke should not have been shot. And I'm going to go a little step further. There's some times in life where you have people around you that you don't, that are maybe bad people, and I can never, as of now, I cannot attest that I've ever been friends with a murderer. But even, all right, think about this. Think about school shooters. Their parents sometimes don't even know that they committed or that they were going to be these murderers. And the only reason that they know is because he was on public television, that it was blown up. So there's a chance that Amir Locke was staying at his cousin's house the same way that we would stay at any family member's house without knowing that he had this out for him. I believe in the doctrine of innocent until proven guilty, and he wasn't being charged for anything, so he doesn't even apply to that. So especially, I think we need to assume that, and if he knew, that's his cousin. Like, you don't throw family under the bus. I mean, you don't protect murdering family members, but I don't think there's a law against staying with somebody with an active warrant. I mean,
there better not be.
Right, yeah. It's like, Amir Locke should not have died. Amir Locke, if he knew that his cousin had an active warrant out for homicide, probably should not have been there with a gun, because you have to have a little common sense. Because it's just like my school. I have a firearm that I carry on me most of the time. I don't carry it in school, even though I should. That's because of safety.
We know you're listening. That's right, Drake.
Yeah,
one of the dirtiest neighborhoods in the state of Iowa.
Yeah,
not caring for some reason.
Yeah, so I live outside of Des Moines. Let's say I have a 3% chance of being physically harmed. I have probably 95% of that 3% chance of being harmed in your parking lot or walking to class. And I can't have my weapon on because maybe there's a chance that those criminals are going to listen to your fucking dumb rules. Maybe there's a chance that those criminals are going to listen to your rules. That doesn't make sense.
Yeah, you know what? You know what really makes me mad about this is this one day, you've heard this story. Carter and I, my boy Carter, shout out. We left our one building that we go to for everything, our class, our library, everything. we left that. We walked down to the. We were just walking around. It was a nice day. We were just getting some air between classes, and we walked down, and here comes this guy running from the cops through the middle of campus, and he makes a break. He kind of comes towards us, and he's running. He's gotten pepper sprayed once, and he's taken off, and he kind of runs towards us, and I was very glad that I had my pocket knife on me. Decent sized knife. It's not just your little average knife. It was a decent knife. And he started running towards us, and then he bolted for the dining hall. Imagine if that guy has any sort of weapon on him and he goes into the dining hall, which during the noon hour this occurred.
And he's sprinting at you full speed, correct?
Yeah, because the cops are on his ass.
With cops on him.
Yeah, and he changed course and headed right for the dining hall, which is packed. And I mean, I would have felt much better about myself, and if I would have had any sort of protection on me.
And you would not have shot him.
I would not have.
No, but guess
unless
what?
he had any sort of advancing front on me outside of running towards me. But I did pull out my pocket knife, and I felt a lot better. I felt a lot safer, and I know Carter would have felt a lot safer if I stepped in front of him with a knife in my hand.
Right.
But now this guy he took towards the dining hall, got to the door, turned around as he opened it, and got sprayed right in the eyes, and they apprehended him. But imagine if they didn't. That was hilarious, by the way.
That sounds funny.
But imagine if he had not been apprehended right there and he took off through the packed dining hall. Then what do kids do? I mean, they're just stuck with some lunatic running from the cops through the middle of their lunch experience. I mean, that's insane. That should not be allowed to happen. I don't get it. I mean, I'm not saying everybody should pack heat on campus by any means. I'm just saying there should be some better way around protecting this, but I don't have the answer.
No, I don't want everybody. It's so hard because I really want to be able to carry a gun on campus.
Yeah, but you can't trust that in everybody.
No.
I mean, just because you have good judgment doesn't mean. Some of the people in our school I know do not have judgment.
No, oh boy.
They're lucky. They're lucky they have a head on their shoulders at this point.
And that's where it's so hard because anybody could bring a gun in there. I mean, you could bring in a freaking, what is that? A high point 9mm AR with collapsible stock that would fit in your backpack, or any AR with a collapsible stock, or any firearm, because an AR is not special. It's a semi-automatic rifle, and AR does not stand for assault rifle. It stands for armor light rifle. So, which we'll get into later. But, so you have basically people that, and this is the same with malls, schools, banks, hospitals. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because you have to do something. And they have metal detectors, I think. But you can't regulate this shit. So why the fuck are we preventing law-abiding citizens and responsible people for doing this? And I get it. That's the thing. I get it because you don't want people with guns in certain places. But you can't fucking... you cannot permit or prevent it. So... I don't know. It's hard because, like we both said, we do not want Drake to be a gun-friendly zone, but I don't also want it to be a gun-free zone.
Yeah.
It's a hard, happy medium. Because what are you supposed to do? Take an IQ test for people that can have guns?
You know what I also don't want? And I know you're listening, government. I do not want people like all the time metal detectors. We don't need metal detectors. We don't need you checking bags. We don't need any of that shit. I mean, that should not happen. You should not screen people outside of airports. Thanks a lot, Bin Laden. But I mean, we don't need extra screening and
Like masturbating on an airport?
that's correct.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bin Laden. But yeah, we don't need those extra screenings and all of that. That's not what we're saying, obviously.
Stay the hell out of our business.
Let people be people.
Especially in Iowa. Let us do whatever the hell we want. Because guess what? We're going to be just damn fine.
That's right.
Because Iowans are very strong. And we don't need no bullshit government telling us what the hell we're supposed to do. We will be just fine. And if for some reason this falls into the ears of people from Drake that are out of Iowa, and you want to bring your bullshit politics, or you have some other views of Iowa that you want to instill on us, you either adopt this and understand that we are very strong and we are fine, and we are in this little absolutely amazing region of the Midwest, if I would call it. If you want to take your California, your other East Coast beliefs, even Illinois, you can get out of the Midwest, Chicago especially.
Yeah.
This is Iowa, so you can get the hell out if you want to bring in those bullshit beliefs.
Yeah, don't try to corrupt the good people of this state, essentially. But, I mean, anybody with these solid, separate views.
Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Illinois out of Chicago, Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, Missouri, all 50 states, you know that if you look at and this isn't even a political, because there's definitely, like, for instance,
hints of political.
It's hints of political. I mean, this is the political podcast. But my grandpa, which is my mentor, he's the person that I look up to most in life. He lives on a farm in Iowa. He farmed his whole life, worked for John Deere, sold this farm because he couldn't afford it anymore, but still lives on the same acreage. He's a Democrat, or so he says. And I love him. And he has very Democrat views. But he still knows the values of Iowa. He knows that you can't bring that California bullshit, that New York bullshit, that Chicago bullshit, Minneapolis bullshit. It's Des Moines bullshit. It's all over. Look at the county map. Nobody is feeling these ideas that these people have besides the big cities. So what the hell is going on? That's a topic for a podcast that we couldn't complete in our lifetime. What the fuck is going on in these cities that makes them think this way when 99% of the counties understand these ideas and these views, and they hold these views very deeply because they come out and vote? All these counties, all over the state. Next time, you want to talk about no electoral college if you're a Democrat? My electoral college, my idea is and this would never happen, and I don't even know if I want this because I do want competition. I think that's better for politics. Mm-hmm. If you want it fair, every county gets a vote, and Republicans would never lose.
Correct.
Because all you have is fucking cities. So figure out why it is that way. And if you want to expand that to the other counties. But that's just because they're in an echo chamber of ideas. And if you get the most dominant people thinking those ideas, they can spread it to everyone else. I don't even know what we're on in this podcast. What topic are we talking about right now?
We skipped from no knocks straight to guns, straight to pretty much right-wing politics pretty quick, which, go figure.
I'm fired up.
That's the way
Man,
to go.
I'm fired up. This whole thing's bullshit.
Let's move on down to Remington. Yeah, I mean, the whole situation with the Sandy Hook school shooting, very unfortunate. I mean, there's nothing. What the hell do we do about all the school shooting? Now, this is a goddamn pandemic, if I've ever heard one. School shootings is a pandemic. And
it's not just the people that carry it out. There's people in a lot of schools that think this way also, that just don't have it's not the balls, because anybody that carries out a school shooting does not have balls because they're a coward.
Yeah.
But does not carry it out. There's still people that think this way.
I think there's certain cases that are influenced by the media. I think they see a school shooting, starting at Columbine. They see a school shooting and they think, this is a way that I can solve my problems. I mean, the fact that the media covered that so extensively, I get why they did. I mean, it was a huge news story. But you get these big school shootings and they're covered. And that puts ideas in people's heads. That makes people think, you know what, my life sucks. I hate school. I'm gonna shoot people. I hate people at my school. I'm just gonna go on a mass shooting. Which, those people are mentally deranged. And I mean, they do need help. Our mental health system also needs some updating. We do need to get people help.
Yes, and
I'm all for that. But at the same point, we gotta fix this. This goes back to the damn security systems at the schools. That does not need to happen. It needs to revert back to old ways. This is gonna sound bad, but kids need their asses kicked.
Yes.
Kids need put in their place. They need reminded how to be normal, how to just fit in, find their place in society, and just be awesome in their own ways. They don't need to find a way to retaliate. They don't need to find a way to get back at anybody who's wronged them. It's, you find your place. Every place has cliques. You find your place, you fit in, you do your thing. Like, I mean, just be a productive member of society. Don't go on a rampage. Don't go nuts.
I mean,
but there are people who can't help it and they need help. But at the same point, there are people who just need kicked in the pants a few times to figure out what the heck's going on. I need to simmer down. Let's figure it out.
There's also been people like this. There's two ways to think about this. Either there's been people like this all throughout society, and it hasn't happened because of either nurture or discipline. There's been serial killers forever, but we're not talking about serial killers. We're talking about school shooters.
And mass shooters in general.
Right.
Yeah.
Or there's something going on with the media, with the coverage of these events, that is making this problem worse. For instance, don't show the douchebag that shot up the school on national TV. Don't give him that recognition.
No.
I'm not saying don't cover it, because you have to cover these things, and I know they're going to be covered. But let's say there's a mass shooting. 12 people died. News story should be 12 people died in state high school and state high school. And then in that whole news story, you don't talk about the shooter, you don't talk about his background, you don't talk about his parents, you don't talk about any of that. And then when the trial goes on, you let him get convicted and rot in hell for the rest of his life, whether it's death by injection or death by life in prison, and you let him rot. You don't talk about him.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even give him the satisfaction of bringing up his name. You say, we got him. He did a lot of wrong. Bad person. We got this. Right. And then we handle it. I mean, you don't throw his name out there. I mean, you say we got the guy who did it, bad person. He's gone. He's a blip on the radar. He's gone. And then you focus on the victims.
I am going to move on with a similar topic, but we already talked about the Sandy Hook shootings. Remington, who was the manufacturer of the weapons used in the Sandy Hook shooting, is being sued. This is absolute bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, like we said, horrible event. I mean, absolutely tragic. Complete, obvious waste of life in a positive sense, if that makes sense. Horrible that happened to them. But the manufacturer of the gun, they said, I saw one article that said, it talked about that Remington produced an AR-15, which once again, AR does not stand for assault rifle. It's Armalite rifle, which was the first manufacturer of the build of the gun. You can get an AR in a 9mm, in a 5.56, 223, 22. It's a build of a rifle. It's not a set in stone weapon. It's a build. And semi-automatic. My grandpa has a 22 long rifle that he's had forever that's semi-automatic. My pistol is semi-automatic. Semi-automatic is not some weapon of mass destruction. Give you in on a little bit of a tidbit of information. If we used AR-15s in war, we would get our asses kicked. We're not using AR-15s in war. Not these AR-15s. Maybe a different build of AR-15 because it's a build, but not the AR-15s that are on the streets. So they say military-style assault weapons. That's not that. It's propaganda and it's BS. But back to the Remington thing. They are not responsible for the things that these people did.
And not $73 million worth of responsible for.
Right. $73 million is what they settled for. And I'm going to be completely honest, and Casey could be honest with this. I can't find the case anywhere. I look up all the information on it. I look up Remington, suit, facts. I can't find the claim. So in law, there's this thing called the claim. And it's basically when you try to sue somebody, you have to make a claim for what they did legally wrong in the legal system. And I can't find any of that. I did find one thing, that this suit was dismissed for lack of a legal claim. So before this was dismissed, I'm guessing they revised their claim, but the problem is I don't know when statute of limitations runs. Statute of limitations is basically like in Iowa for, say, if I slip and fall on a hotel's floor, I only have 2 years to file that. I don't know when statute of limitations runs for this specific case. And I know that it didn't run because the court would not allow it to continue. But I cannot find a claim. I don't know what they're claiming. But I don't understand how a manufacturer who's first off already bankrupt. I know because I was trying to buy Remington. I own a Remington 870. I think about basically every gun owner does. And I like their ammunition. They're not anywhere. They're bankrupt before this. So how do you find a gun manufacturer liable for something that somebody that's absolutely insane did? It does not make any sense. It's political bullshit trying to attack the gun community. And in the gun community, I know there's a problem with this stuff. If there was only one, there would be a problem. We need to find a fix, but it's definitely not suing gun manufacturers, and it's definitely not taking guns away from reasonable owners. So I just don't. I don't know. Do you have?
Yeah, it's I mean it's kind of the same thing. Like you don't go out there and sue little Debbie for giving people diabetes, and that's essentially what they're doing here is saying, you know what, you guys made these guns, so we're gonna sue you. But at the same point, they're not the ones who did the shooting. Remington has nothing to do with this. They produce their guns. I mean, they're just a part of just commerce. I mean, they're a commercial business that produces guns, ammo, etc. They've got nothing to do with the shooting. It was circumstantial. It could have been Winchester. It could have been a number of other companies. It doesn't matter. I mean, for all we know, it could have been a guy who walks in with a number 2 pencil and starts jamming it in people's necks and killing them. Are they going to sue Papermate? No.
Or like in the UK when they're stabbing people with knives or driving trucks into crowds.
Yeah.
Or how about this? How about the one of the leading the leading cause in death in the United States is obesity or diseases that arise from that. And during the Super Bowl, we still had commercials of restaurants, of snacks.
Yeah.
Our favorite commercials were both Doritos.
Yeah.
That makes people fucking fat.
Yeah. You know what? If I get diabetes, and in the same logic sense, I could sue various companies for giving me diabetes.
Doesn't make sense. It just we will cover this longer as it goes on. I don't have too much more to say about this because we just don't know how the procedure works. And exactly, I don't even know what the claim was. But this has gone on an hour, and I'm guessing that people are mostly bored by now. We are going to go watch the USA Women's compete for gold against Canada.
Yeah.
I hope you guys have an excellent day. Honestly, thank you guys so much for watching. If you made it this far, it means so much. Like we've said, please leave suggestions in the comments of what you want us to talk about.
Yeah, like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and yeah, go USA.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna blame you if you share this to your friends. So
yeah, rock and roll. I mean, spread the news. I mean, we're just here doing this for fun. So if you send it out, go on ahead. We don't care.
yeah. Love you, boys. Drop a line, eh?